What's up, Moto Buddies? We're going to do a little install of this EJK. This is the Dobeck EJK fuel tuner. This is a little piggyback fuel tuner, and this bike is a 2016. So this installation video is specific to the 2012 through 2016 model. If you have a 17 plus, you'll watch the other video. So this is a pretty ideal location for this. We like it right here because it allows you to access it if you needed to. You can also pop it right out of here. It's just kind of this rubber band that holds the battery on. You can either slide this thing out to get access to it or pull the band off from the bottom. Either way. We don't put it on top of the battery because it's wider than these posts, and so it just won't fit in this little spot. Some guys will also put it right in this little section. The fuel tank's off on this machine right now, but there's a little bit of a cavity right here. You can experiment to see if you like it in there. There's other guys that will mount it down here in the airbox. Sometimes they will attach it here to the inside. This is their inside rear fender area. Or they'll put it on the airbox cover right here. If you do that and you've got the Velcro that comes with the kit, you can just unattach it every time you take the airbox cover off, or you can kind of let the box cover hang down from the wire. There's no weight to it. You're not going to put any strain on that. So I guess there's even a third or fourth, I don't know where we're up to now, but some guys will even put it up here on the steering stem. They'll mount it right here on the neck. On the throttle cable side, there's a little cavity in there where I guess it could go. Some guys will even go so far as to put a bracket up here on the bars. That way they've got, this is a pretty, this cockpit's about full. So these guys though, they will take and they'll put a little bracket off one of these posts up here, and then they'll mount that. I think that's kind of ugly. All of these options are sort of unattractive if you mount it here and you can see it. The thing is, once you get this thing mounted, and it's dialed in and you got it set, you're not adjusting it. You don't need to go back to this and play with it. It's sort of a set it and forget it type thing. So anyway, if you ask me and how I install them, I always put them here. There are those other options to consider. So you've got a couple of power connections here. Your cable comes out, and you'll see how we've got this sort of snugged in and disappeared as much as possible. This cable right here is the cable, and I'll just route along with my finger. We've got the excess of this. It's somewhat long, and so all that extra, we just shove it down in there. We bring it along here. It dives under the ECU, so we've removed these little clips here, pull the ECU up, teased that underneath, and it pokes out right here. And then you can follow it along. We go into the center of the frame. And then right here on these model bikes is the fuel injector right there. So you see that yellow wire? That's the injector. That's the top of the injector. So that is the connector. I'll see if I can twist that. And so how this installs is you basically unplug your stock injector, and there's a male and a female on this harness. You plug the injector into it, and then you plug the connector from the tuner into your fuel injector. It's as simple as that. Let me show you what that looks like. These wires here, you can just kind of fit them in there. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but you'd like all these to be tugged out of the way. So this right here is the bike loom. Do you see the dirt on there? That sort of gives you the idea. That's the stock injector harness from the bike, from the ECM. That used to just plug right there into the injector. So what we've done is we've intercepted it. We take our tuner and we plug one side of it into the injector. So what's happening is that injector pulse signal is coming through the lead, through this harness here, and it's going up into the tuner, and then it's returning. It's returning on this cable right here. So we're in and out. It's basically in and out. So this might be a little more illustrative of that. Signal comes in here. It goes through a set of wires, which is attached to the injector connector, but it doesn't go into the connector at that point. You see where this, I'm teasing that a little bit. That yellow right there, that's the injector. That's the cable there for it. So the signal wire from the computer, signal from it comes through this harness, in and out. It doesn't even make electrical connection at the injector at that point. And it travels through this cable back up here where it's processed in the tuner. The tuner decides, based on your input and your programming, whether to make that signal pulse width longer, which would be more fuel, or shorter, which would take it away. When you set that point, those programming threshold points, anything above the number 3, and when you look on the front here, you'll see really small 1, 2, 3 all the way to 9. So you've got 9 fuel points that you're setting, and these numbers above 3 is stock. If you set all of these numbers to 3, you'd have a totally stock setting. You'd have no fuel change, no add, no take away. It'd be a net 0. So again, this device changes the pulse width of the injector, and then that signal, once it's processed here, travels back out down the harness, and then it goes into the injector. So this first section, it's traveling just through the neighborhood onto the tuner, and then it returns back to the injector after being modified, and it triggers the injector. So that's the circuit. This is something else. Ignore that. So all of these little leads, connectors, and wires, you can zip tie it, you can make it as neat as you like, or you can just shove it in there. It doesn't matter. Just get it nice and out of the way so it doesn't snag on anything. And again, you'll see how that travels up and goes here to the unit itself. Now, as far as electrical connections, you only have 2. You have that one down there at the injector, and then you have a second one here. I like to put it on the negative post, the ground post. This is just the ground for the unit itself. You can put this, you can attach this anywhere you want. Some guys like to drill a little self-tapping screw into the subframe and put it there. You can put it on the battery. You can T-tap it off this. Now, here's something that we like to do on a lot of our jobs, is we've got this little, battery tender lead right here. That comes in on its own cable, and that attaches to the battery. So we like to intercept that, split it, and then send this power out. So what we're doing here is this is sort of off topic of this video, but this is a relay that we've wired in and out to run auxiliary stuff. So on this bike, we've got a Voyager Pro and a GPS. We've got 2 GPSs and some other things happening. So we're using this fuse holder. I like to clean up the battery. I don't like to have 22 things attached to the battery post. So we're just using the one. So here we have double duty. We're using the charging circuit, but we're also pulling power off to running to some aux circuits. So anyway, all of that to say, you can take this ground, put it here, put it here. You can T-tap into any of the brown wires that are already on the bike. So like, here's our rear. This goes to the fender. This is our rear lights, brake lights. This brown wire, anywhere on a KTM you see a brown wire, that's ground. So you could tap into any one of the grounds. You can do anything you want with that, but it's got to be to ground. So once you have those 2 electrical connections made, then you're ready to program. So to program this, it's incredibly simple. If you can operate a smartphone, then you're overqualified. This is the light sequence you get when you power up the unit. This is just sort of its heartbeat. It's on, it's got power, it's connected to the injector. If you don't have lights like this, then something's not right. Double check your work or give us a call. So now it's time to program, and there are 6 programming set points, 6 values, 6 areas to program. Every time you press this mode button, you go into the first value or the first area, and that's the green. It gives you about 5 seconds to make any change. If you don't, it drops you out. When it drops you out, it memorizes the last position you were at, and so it saves it. So there's really no save button. There's just, put it to the value you want and then leave it alone. So let's go back into that first position, the green, and say I wanted to, the instructions tell me to do a 6. So I just bring that, I slide that up. See, if I press the negative, it slides down. So I want to slide that value to the 6th position, and there it is, it's set at 6. So if I do nothing, drops me out, and it memorized that. If I hit it again, there it is at that spot. If my instructions tell me to set something at 5/6, that's really 5.5 is what that is. So a 5/6 would be there. Let's say it's a 3/4. A 3/4 is there. It's just 3.5. So you get the idea. Don't be confused when you see 5/6 or 6/7. Again, 3 is the base value. So if we set something to 5, we're 2 points. It's really more than that, isn't it? So it's 2, 4, 6. We're really 6 points because each one is a half, right? So there's a point, there's a 1.5, there's a second point, it's 2.5, and 3. So each one of these, each time you move it, it's really 1/2 point, and there's a full point. So the difference between 3 and 4 is really 2 points, 2 fuel points. So anyway, going through all of the colors, now it's yellow. That's the yellow circuit. Now we're on the red circuit, and that is the green-blue value. Here's the yellow-blue, red-blue, and then green again. So we're back to green. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to green. So 6 programming points. Every color equals a different throttle range and engine position. And so you just program whatever set point your instructions give you for that particular color range or throttle range. Once you've got all your values set, again, when you release it, then it's memorized. And these points are suggested. So really, the ultimate way to know if these air-fuel ratio points are right is to have your bike checked, have the air-fuel ratio checked properly by somebody with an air-fuel ratio gauge to do that correctly. We're getting you in the ballpark. These numbers sometimes are borrowed from other tuners. Sometimes we've modified them ourselves. It's not that special or precious. There are some guys out there who market these devices made by Dobeck, but there's some other sticker on there. As you know, these are sold by JD Jetting. There's a couple of guys out there that essentially remarket these. They are made by Dobeck in Bozeman, Montana, and these are the Dobeck EJK device. And the tune points, nobody's programming the software inside this device. All anybody is doing is coming up with just different fuel points. That's all these are. These are fuel points. And, you know, there's only so much you can do to add or take away fuel and get the bike to run right. So the numbers that we give you, they're kind of a combination of numbers that we've borrowed from other tuners who have had lots of R&D time with these, and then sometimes we've played with them ourselves. But even EJK, all of our numbers, wherever you get them from, plus or minus, they're all going to be really close. So again, nothing that special about these numbers other than to say use the corresponding numbers to the type of modifications that you've got on your bike, and you just set those points, and then again put this back away, and then you forget all about it. There may be specific times when you wanted to take away fuel. You know, you're on an injected bike, but this is a speed density system. It does not have an O2 sensor. It's open loop. You do not have feedback live AFR data from a O2 sensor. So these this device and any on these KTM 500s or EXC bikes, without that O2 sensor, without going into closed loop status, you're just speed density system. So basically what's happening is it's taking the measurements from the mass airflow. I'm sorry, this does not have a mass airflow. The absolute manifold, absolute pressure sensor, temperature sensors. So there's a handful of things, air intake temperature, and it's just comparing that data kind of on a spreadsheet and then coming up with a fuel ratio output. And that's good. It's better than jetting on a carb, I would say, but it is not as good as the fuel injection system on your car. So let's say you're up at altitude and it's cold temperatures and your bike is running a little sluggish. It feels fat. You're blowing some black smoke. The crispness to the throttle response is not there. You might be a little rich, and so you maybe give us a call, or you know enough about these to know that you can push down some of the fuel and lean these out just a little bit for those conditions and get some of that performance back. And you can do that on the fly. You know, some guys will keep a piece of paper with them, or a little, you know, they'll write, there's a sticker, and you could put that sticker right here, and you could record the base values, so if you modify it, you can remember what they were and go back to it. You could also put that sticker on the back, whatever you wanted to do. But keep track of the base values for your bike, make your mods, and then when you go back to your normal, typical riding area and those conditions, change that back. So that's basically how we install these and set them up. You're going to have great luck with these. Super reliable. We've never had one fail. We've never seen one misbehave or act up. It's a great little device. I think you're going to have a good experience with it. Let us know if you don't, or let us know if you have any questions. All right, guys, go out there and get some adventure.